Today I'm going to talk about one of the greatest tactical books of all time. This is called Tactical Play by Mark Dvoretsky. It's part of the series from back in the day, Volume 2. In my mind, it's kind of a standalone thing. It was a revelation for me personally. Of all the Dvoretsky books, I believe this one is the best, definitely had the most influence on me. And that influence can be stated simply is that it was a window into how players at the highest level can calculate very deeply. And the fact that they do it, it's kind of like just a behind the scenes look into how some of these top Soviet GMs, how deep they were thinking, how deep they were calculating. This came out in the 90s. This is, of course, really before the computer, right? Kind of as the computer's coming along. And I remember going through that book the first time back then, and it was startling to see like how much I didn't see. Most of the other tactical books, in fact, still today, they'll be very clean-cut solutions. They will be not that long. All the things you see on Puzzle Rush, for example, those are all clean-cut solutions without any kind of scope for, okay, maybe white's a little better at the end, or, you know, there's some kind of evaluation at the end, or maybe some kind of like, well, this is the right practical decision, right? So, the next thing I want to say about this is this book belongs to a class of books that aren't for the masses. Okay, I would say you probably need to be 2,300 FIDE at least to start in on this book. It is very difficult. And as I've stated before, most books aren't written for the masses. And my theory on this, as I've stated before, is that people like Dvoretsky want to share something. They want to share what they've learned, and they were going to put it out there. But unfortunately, it's not digestible for the mass of people out there. Now, here's the next thing, which I think, well, some people will find controversial. So this book, I would say about half of it is wrong. I haven't gone through every single problem, but the ones I have been looking at, the computer's just like, no, this is completely wrong. So why would Jesse then say that this is one of the greatest books? Well, it comes at the, just at the breaking of the computer time. And with the computer now, if you look at books like Calculation by Aagaard or other books that are kind of largely computer generated, they're all going to have clean solutions, right? Something's going to lead to some kind of clear result, but that's not the way an actual game usually is. Usually it's just a complete mess, and these positions are messy. And so it's really the chance to test your mind against these other players who were in Dvoretsky's school. So like Yusupov, Dolmatov, all these great players from the past, they all went through these puzzles. And you can see then the puzzles from a human eye, and a human eye at a very high level, right? With other books after the computer, you can't see that. You can just see the computer's answer. So for me, it's really cool to see, okay, what does a human see? And let me just stress, if you want to look at the computer, you want to find the truth, easy. It's very simple to turn the computer on. So I wanted to show two examples where we can see kind of what we're talking about with the difficulty level and the human approach. Okay, so in this first position, this is black to move. Okay, now the problem that black has is this move e7 followed by rook e6 looks absolutely devastating. So the answer that Dvoretsky wants, and in fact the answer then I saw for myself, I was like, oh yeah, that's got to be the right answer. That's really cool. Was to play rook here. And the point is to stop e7, and then later, if I need to, play queen E8, for example, queen C2 or queen B3, I'll play queen E8 and I'll get my A4 break in. And I will say, I'm going to live through this. I'm going to blockade those dark squares. Those rooks aren't going to get at me. Well, the computer's like, no, dude, that's not true. That's just totally not true. In fact, I'm just going to bust you up right away. And it goes like this, and then the computer wants this, and the computer's like, buddy, we're done. It's all the way gone. Then also with this, the kind of chump move from a human point of view, from Dvoretsky's point of view, is to play this, not realizing that E7 is actually a terrible threat. Well, the computer's like, no, dude. No, you just take it. No, and something like queen G3, we'll even just play bishop F6. We're fine. We are fine. Not a human perspective, right? Okay, let me show you another example. So in this position, it's a famous game. It looks like we're opposite color bishops. This looks very scary. So the first thing I wanted to do when I was solving this problem, and also that Dvoretsky wants, and also what happens in the game, is bishop H4. This is Marshall Rubinstein. And then we start calculating G3, and we calculate this. Now, why are we doing this? Because we're scared to death of queen D3 or queen C2. So we want to force matters, gain the initiative before we get whaled on the light squares. The computer doesn't care. It just doesn't care. It's like, play this move, play that move. It doesn't matter. You can play knight E5. You can let him in there. Fine. Don't worry about it. Well, from a human point of view, it's not so easy, right? Then further, let's go deeper. Bishop H4, G3. Now, by the way, we're talking not chumps here. Like Dvoretsky is a great tactician, Yusupov, amazing, and all these people were solving this problem. And the computer here is just like, go back to F6, it's fine. You're not going to get mated, you're fine. So for example, I saw this position, and I don't even think Dvoretsky talks about this one in particular. Maybe it was just so obvious to him. But in this position, I stopped because I saw knight F3. And I said, well, that's crispy critters. Well, knight F3, and the computer's like, I don't care. I don't care, boss. I'm winning. And so it's like, wrong again. So what I want to stress is, in this book, there are loads of examples like this. And the positions are so tasty and deep that, the human mind is not, it might think it knows an answer, but it is usually wrong. So what I think as a how to use the book is to understand that you can measure your mind against stronger tacticians. At least I'm not as good as Yusupov, right? And they found so many things that I just missed. And that is the true value, I think, in tactics exercises. Can I measure myself against a stronger player rather than the beast? The beast, I have no chance. Sometimes with a stronger player, sometimes I even see a little bit more than they did, some other idea, right? And so this book gives you all these positions to test yourself on that are really deep and beautiful. And then if you want to, you can do as I did in a couple of these problems. You go and take a look at the machine, right? Fine. So there it is. Tactical play. I want to just say also, historically speaking, I think it was one of the first books in my mind that kind of brought that level of tactical depth to show the rest of us what these strong GMs were thinking. Another book in the ChessDojo program, this one's in there, is this book, Secrets of Grandmaster Play by Nunn. That came out, I want to say 88, 89, something like that. Similar book, doesn't have puzzles, but has very in-depth analysis. And in fact, there's a whole chapter in the Dvoretsky book talking about, the refutations of Nunn, which, there's just some crazy positions that are very hard to analyze and work with. So if you're over 2,300 and want to, test yourself, fantastic book. If you are under 2,300, just want a glimpse of what really high-level analysis looks like, this book is also for you. All right, bye.